and welcome to episode 17 of the Under Eagle Mountain Making Podcast. Hello, welcome back to my podcast. My name is Laura. I am a maker living in the northwest of England, and this is where I like to chat about all the things that I've made, I am making, and what I would like to make in the future. If you've been here for a while, you will know that it used to be quite knitting heavy content, and that has trailed off in recent months because I've had still have a problem with my wrists and my hands. I've been to see a physiotherapist since we last chatted, and that it is apparently something here that is called the triangular fibrocartilage complex. And that's apparently where the problem lies. I think it's to do with the disc and the ligament and how it attaches to your hand here. So I've been referred for some physiotherapy and some scans, x-rays and scans. So we will see what happens there. It's a bit up and down. Sometimes it hurts lots and lots and lots, and sometimes it feels like it's getting a bit better, and I'm hopeful, but I'm not pushing it. I'm not doing any knitting. I am really missing it, as you avid knitters will realise. But I'm trying really hard to see it as an opportunity to get on with some of my other crafts. So I have got quite a few things to show you. I've got some sewing and I've got some natural dyeing, both on yarn and on fabric. So I will jump into that in a minute. First, I would just like to say thank you to everybody that is a returning viewer. I mean, if you are here for the first time, you are really welcome, obviously. But if you are a returning viewer and you're a subscriber and you're somebody who regularly leaves comments, I'm really grateful. The whole point of starting a YouTube channel was to sort of, make connections, make friends, have chats about the things that we all love to do. And that is starting to happen, and I'm really pleased. With that in mind, I was thinking, I have been thinking for a while about all the hoo-ha over Instagram. Sort of last month, loads and loads of people were saying, I can't be on Instagram anymore, I'm going to have to leave. And, it's true. I do feel since I started Instagram and to now, I think the way it's run, I was going to say like the quality of the product, like the way it's run, I don't think it's as good as it was. And I didn't like stories when they brought stories in. I don't really like reels. I understand that they're useful, and sometimes it's really good to be able to see a person moving, like putting on clothes or stuff like that, so you can see what they look like in an outfit, or tutorials and stuff like that. But I feel that, like, I don't know, I just feel that it's trying to be, I guess, it's trying to be TikTok, and I'm not on TikTok. I'm not interested in TikTok, so I'd quite like old Instagram back. But also there was a sort of change in management, and a lot of people felt that they maybe didn't want to be on that platform anymore. But the problem was, I don't think anybody really knew where to go. I mean, a few people did leave Instagram. Some people have come back. Some people talked a lot about leaving but never really did, because I don't think they know where to go, where they'll be able to reach all the same people that they were reaching before, but also maintain their contact with those people. It's a two-way thing. So a lot of people went for newsletters and started sending out newsletters, but that is a kind of one-way thing. I think it's not quite the same. I mean, you can respond to an email or whatever, but it's not in a platform. It's just between you and the person that you're sending the newsletter to. There isn't the opportunity for other people to join in. So some people did sort of like old-fashioned blogs, or like resurrected them, or had kept those going anyway. I don't have a website or anything. I'm not even entirely, I just wouldn't know where to start setting that up. But what I did think, and I thought about for a while, and I have finally done it, I did it last week, it's very much in its infancy and I'm still trying to figure it out, is set up a Patreon account. It's totally free. I've not put in any paid tiers or anything, partly because that's not what it's about, and partly because, I just want it to be like a place where people can go and find information about my making if they're interested, if that's what they want. Hopefully if you're here you are interested in that, and I know a lot of people here found me via Instagram or follow me on Instagram, so presuming that you are interested, it's just another place where all these videos from this one onwards that I post on YouTube will go on there. So obviously I think it's advert free, I'm pretty sure it's advert free over there. So I've watched stuff on Patreon and I've never had an advert, but it's paid tiers, but I don't think there's adverts. Let me know if I'm wrong. But I thought that would be a benefit if you didn't want to watch all the adverts on YouTube and you didn't want to sort of pay for I know you can pay to have the adverts removed, which I keep thinking about. I find it a bit sad as a creator that you can't pay not to have adverts. That would be quite nice if you could do that. I think there is a way of removing them or reducing them, but you have to have a certain number of followers and or subscribers, and I'm not there, so that's not an option to me at the minute. So I thought on Patreon they would be advert free, but also I could then post some pictures and bits of writing to go with the pictures in the same way that old Instagram was. You know, it's just a picture and a bit of info, and people can then sort of chat about it, comment on it. You know, there can be a bit of backwards and forwards on it there. And I thought that that would be preferable to a blog or a newsletter or anything, because a lot of people will already be on Patreon. They'll already be following other people. So it's not like a whole extra thing. So that's what I was thinking. Let me know if you think that's a dreadful idea or if you think it's just one platform too many or whatever. But I was just thinking if, you know, I'm trying not to use a phrase that includes a swear word, but if Instagram did all go wrong and people just left in droves, I would like there to be an option of, well, you can still find me here. I know you can find me on YouTube, but it is just videos and they're less frequent. So a place that I could post pictures to and I could write a little bit in, that would be easy, and it wouldn't be like you wouldn't have to specifically go to somewhere just to look for me. If you were already on Patreon, it would just kind of come up in your whatever. So I hope that's all clear. It's the name is Laura from Under Eagle Mountain. So that's what I'm called on there. So yeah, if you're interested, go and have a look. As I say, it's free. And I think it always will be. Like, I have no intention of monetizing it. The only thing is, I think there are some things that I can't do if you don't have tiers set up. I've only just started looking at it. As I say, I just did it last week. There's one post which is just a welcome, hello, this is me. And then there's another one that I posted on the equinox last week, which was just like a quick tour around the garden. So there's just some footage of different parts of the garden, and then there's a few bits of me saying this is this and this is that, and just explaining a few things. I thought it'd be nice on the equinox in spring to look where the garden was, and then maybe I can do it again in the solstice and you can see how things have improved and moved on. This time of year I probably will be doing, you know, for the next 6 months, quite a bit of gardening, and it's not something that I don't put on here or on Instagram that much, but it's becoming increasingly important, particularly because I'm growing more and more dye plants. So it is becoming not important, like linked to my making more and more. So I am hoping this year also to grow some flowers for drying, and then obviously I'll be making something with the dried flowers. So there is a bit of a link, but I thought I'd maybe keep that over there. So yeah, I've now witted about that for 9 minutes, so I'm just going to move on straight into my like normal podcast things. But if you are interested, you can look over there or ask me any questions here or whatever. All right. Right, making. I have a few finished objects. I do have a brown cord caladium jumpsuit. This is my denim one. I'm not going to stand up, I'm on an armchair. You won't be able to see it all, but I've shown it before here and on Instagram. This is my denim one. I have made, I think in the last podcast I'd like started making the brown cord one, and I have finished it and I've worn it quite a bit, and unfortunately I was wearing it at the weekend. Today is Monday, and I spilt stuff all over it, so it's not been washed and was not ready to wear. So I'm wearing my denim one instead. But I did also finish my Bilbo vest. which if you saw my making plans video, I think I was wearing. The only thing about this brown cord is it collects loads of fluff, like it picks everything up. So this is it. I'm really pleased with how it turned out. There's a few, I cocked up the buttons a little bit. I sewed the button loops on in a slightly weird way, I think. And when I folded them, I had one folded the other way from the others, and I think two of them are a bit closer together than the others, but you know, I did my best. So this is it. The Claudium jumpsuit is in that same brown cord, so it's this pattern in this material, and I really like it. It's really comfy. I really would recommend that pattern. I think it's by Cara Mia Designs, and I'm really pleased. It's dead easy to do. It's dead comfy to wear. I get lots of compliments when I have them on. So these buttons, Textile Garden, I think that's where I got them from. It's something like that. And these are horn or bone buttons that have been dyed. They're a sort of lovely raspberry pink colour. I couldn't resist them. It's like, you might notice as we go along that it's one of my favourite colours. And inside it's lined with this beautiful vintage fabric, which does pick up that pink colour. And again, if you watched, I think, episode 16, I'd said that all the clothes I was going to make this year, I was going to try and put a little message in them. So for my Claudium jumpsuit, it was actually like hidden. It was a secret message hidden in the seam. But this one, I did a patch on the inside. So this is a piece of scrap fabric that, well, I'll explain. It's a pink fabric, and I've made something else in it in a minute, and I'll talk about it. And on it, I've embroidered this symbol, and I embroidered it in a silk thread that I had dyed last year, the year before, a while ago, with onion skins. And it's kind of hard to pick up really, but it does look golden, like it's really shiny and beautiful. And this is a symbol that I made up after looking at I went down this massive rabbit hole of looking at different symbols. So I looked at like alchemical symbols, and I looked at like modern day map symbols and ancient map symbols and runes. And I started with runes because this is the Bilbo vest. It's a pattern by Lorna at Thread and Yarn, and obviously inspired by Bilbo from The Hobbit and Lord of the Rings. And I've got, you know, copies of both those books, and there's runes all over them. Tolkien, like, you know, made up his own languages and stuff. And so I wanted something that nodded towards the name of the vest, but I didn't just want to copy stuff off the books that I didn't know what they meant, and I didn't want to like just copy Norse runes or Celtic runes, or I'd looked at Ogham runes, which are like Celtic tree runes, I think, and I did look at those, but I didn't just want to copy something. It felt a bit like appropriating something from, you know, that really means something to somebody else. So I kind of wanted to be influenced by it, but not just straight up copy it. I also looked at something called the Hobo's Code. Now, I don't know if it's rude to call people hobos, but that's what they were called at the time. In like, I think like in the 30s onwards, they in America, with people that kind of rode the rails and travelled from one place to the other, like transient people. And they had like a whole system of marks that they would mark in different places for other hobos to read. And it would say things like fierce dog here, or kind lady here, or, you know, police be careful, or, you know, bad people live here, or things like that. So I had a lot of look at different ones, and I kind of amalgamated it all together. And so this circle, there was a circle with a dot in, and that was like the alchemical symbol for gold. And then there was a circle with a sort of line, went through it like a 45-degree angle, and that was the hobo symbol for safe path or safe journey, so something like that. And then obviously arrows from, you know, maps, compasses, stuff like that. So and then this little one is like like an ordnance survey map symbol for, you know, a mountain or something like that, or even on like a kiddie's drawing, you know, when my kids do maps, they all do just little triangles for mountains. So in my brain, this all went together, and it was safe path to the Golden Mountain, which, of course, if you've read The Hobbit, Bilbo is travelling to a mountain in which resides a dragon that has a hoard of gold, and that all just seemed to make sense to me. So, you know, listen, welcome to my world. I thought it was just nice. It was something fun, and I'm really pleased with it. I've worn that quite a lot, and it's a really nice little layer to go over thinner jumpers, and I think dresses probably as it continues to get a bit warmer. So yeah, now that fabric here that I was telling you about, that pink fabric that I embroidered the patch on, that came from a dress that my mum and my husband clubbed together to buy me several years ago. And it was, I'm not going to say where I got it from, because it was, well, they got it from, because it was quite expensive. But I was a bit disappointed, and I think it was just a one-off that it wasn't great. One, it was no good to me because it was just massive. They'd bought it from America, so and they'd bought it in advance. So by the time I got it and tried it on and stuff, it was just like, it would have been a pain in the bum to send it back. So I kind of like persisted and tried to wear it, but it was just too much fabric. I'm quite small. I'm about 5'3" or 161 centimetres. I'm a pretty standard UK size 10, 35-inch bust, full bust, like size 3 feet. I'm just generally quite petite, and it just drowned me. I think it was made for a much taller person, but also it's the fabric. You washed it and it really ran the fabric. It really, like, it's much paler now, having been washed twice, I think, in all that time, than it was when I got it. So I was a tiny bit disappointed. So it kind of just lived in my cupboard and like stared at me. It made me feel guilty. So in the end I thought, well, I'm just going to take it apart and make something. And again, if you watched my last video, I used like the sleeves. They were big puffy sleeves, and each one of them allowed me to, like, one sleeve allowed me to get a bodice, like front of a bodice, and the other sleeve allowed me to get the back of a bodice. And I was using the bodice of the Aura dress pattern, Soften Studios, sorry, I had like a blank. Soften Studios, the Aura dress pattern. And I've got the dress, and I really like to make it. It has a very similar shape to the Claudium jumpsuit, actually. It's got like this deep V, and it's quite a low in the arms, but then it's a very A-line long skirt. And I've seen quite a few of them on people, and sometimes they look really, really brilliant, and sometimes less so. And I think that's to do with choice of fabric. I think if you use a very stiff fabric, I don't like it as much. And I think it was made so you could make, you know, with denim, but I find it a bit stiff, and it's very kind of like Dutch milkmaided kind of like very A-line skirt. But I've seen it also made in a very flowy, much lighter fabric, and I think that looks really pretty. But I feel there's a lot of ease in the pattern. Sorry, I'm waffling a bit now. My size, my measurements tell me that I should make the size 3, but it looked big. So I decided I would use this to make the top of a size 3. And if it did fit, I would then add the skirt of that dress onto the skirt of the bodice to make a new dress. But I made it, and I think I showed it in the last video or in the making plans video. It was too big. Like the shoulder, if it sat there, it was like off my shoulder here. It was really big. It sat a bit wider, but it sat like that, and it was wider, the strap, than this, and it was just too big. I think I'd need to make the size down, but I think I'd have to make it out of a like old duvet cover or something first, just to make sure before I cut into my really nice fabric. So that happened to the top, and that's just kind of gone by the wayside. But I still had all the material left for the skirt, so I decided I'd just make a Bramble skirt, which is another pattern by Lorna at Thread and Yarn, and that's a free pattern. I think on her YouTube channel you can just there's a tutorial there, and there is an option to pay something to her by way of supporting her, but it is free to access as well. And so I've made mine now. It is nearly finished. I've just put the elastic in yesterday, and I've not sewn that bit down, and then I need to just secure the elastic inside so it doesn't all, you know, elastic waistbands and roll and twist and stuff. So I just want to secure it so that doesn't happen. I've also not cut out all the threads, so don't judge me. But you can see it's just got, I kept the original hem, and it's just got like the top of your thigh, so past your hip, but not quite mid-thigh is where this hits. And or maybe mid-thigh, yeah, looking at it. And yeah, it's just this really nice pink colour. I think it would look very nice with that. So I do love this pink colour. As I say, it has faded. It's all organic. I think it's naturally dyed as well. But it does run a bit, the fabric, and it has faded, so it's a bit sad. But oh, look at that, I need to cut my threads. But yeah, on the whole, I'm really pleased with it. It fits really nicely. I wear my other Bramble skirt a lot, so I think I will do that one too. So that's one, 2, 3 finished objects. And then my last, oh no, not my last, I've got loads. But my next one is this. I've got five skeins of this. This is a Pole Dorset wool, 100% Pole Dorset, from a single flock. I bought it from Orchard Yarns on Etsy, and it's a woman whose parents own a flock of Pole Dorset sheep, and they get the yarn spun up, or she gets the yarn spun up and sells it. And she said it was really nice for dyeing. DK weight, I don't know if I said that. And I dyed it with madder. Now, I did say in my planning video I was hoping for a red. Red is quite hard to get. I did over dye. I started off by mordanting it with tannin, so I made a bath of alder cones. So when I didn't take a picture, but when the yarn came out, it was like a really pale oaty sort of beigey colour. It was a nice colour. And then I mordanted it in alum, and then I dyed it in madder, and it's come out not red, but this is what I think of as a typical madder colour. It's like a brick orange. It looks more orange on screen. It looks more pink, more sort of corally in real life. There is a definite pink undertone. It's really nice, but I said on Instagram I had a bit of a nightmare because I'd done it once and it was a bit paler, and I was just like, oh, it's quite a nice colour, but what should I do? You know, should I buy more madder and try and re-dye it? Because all the madder dye I've done so far, really, I've used my own madder that I've got in the garden, but my husband bought me some powdered madder, and I thought I'll use that. But then I didn't have enough to do dye like quite to the strength that I wanted to, which I think is why it's come out like this sort of bricky, pinky, orangey colour rather than red. In a previous video, you'll see that I've dyed a smaller skein of yarn, 2 skeins of yarn, really bright red. Well, yeah, lovely red, proper red. But that was quite a high ratio of the dye stuff to the stuff that you were dyeing. This was a lower ratio because I was just using up what I had. So then I hummed and hawed, like, should I buy more and should I re-dye it, or what should I do? And loads of people got back to me and just said, oh, it's a really lovely colour, like I would just leave it. And then in the same dye bath, I dyed some other fabric, which I'll show you in a minute, which, because in the exhaust it came out a really pinky colour, but there was still quite a lot of colour left in it. So I just put the yarn back in. Just really, I didn't have any hope that it would change the colour or change the tone, but it might just deepen it slightly, and I thought it would help with the colour fastness. Meanwhile, my husband very kindly did some tidying. I do the dyeing in the cellar, which isn't quite as horrible as it sounds. The cellar's got windows and there's a door to the outside because we live on a slope. My part of the cellar's here, so actually it's above ground, a lot of it. So it is a good room for doing it in. You can open the door and you've got light from the window. And my husband went in and he was like fiddling with the drains, and there was the sink was dripping a bit, so we sorted that, and he hoovered all the floor and tidied around. He was being very kind, but in the process he moved all my stuff, including all my buckets. Now if you've done any natural dyeing, you will know that you can use like iron, an iron solution, and you can dip whatever you've dyed in the iron solution and it will sadden colours, so it will mute them, it will darken them, and sometimes completely change them. So sometimes onion skins, for example, might go from being a sort of orangey gold colour to being a grey colour, or from being a deeper orangey gold colour to being a sort of olivey green colour. So you can get quite a lot of change. It's a way of modifying dyes, and it's very useful, but you want to keep anything that's had iron near it totally separate from anything that hasn't, because you don't want to dye, you know, a really beautiful clear golden colour and it accidentally go in your iron bucket and then come out grey if you were looking for a golden colour. And he mixed up all my buckets, you know what's coming, and he put the iron bucket back in the non-iron bucket pile. Now it was written on it, but he wouldn't know that. He does, you know, I should have double checked and it didn't. So when I'd taken these out of the exhaust dye bath, I sort of, you know, I squeezed them out and wrung them out, and I just put them in a bucket from the non-iron pile, put it in a bucket, and I took it outside and I was just hanging them on the line. The washing line is not in sunshine until sort of midday onwards. So they were just hanging there, dripping away. I'd give them, you know, normally I'd go and give them a squeeze every half an hour or so, and just with a bit of wind and a bit of warmth from being outside, they dry quicker than if I had them inside. And as I was hanging them up, I thought, oh, that's funny, why is there a dark patch? And then I looked at the bucket and twigged. So you can see wherever the yarn touched the bucket, there is a dark brown patch. Can you see that? Am I showing it? Now, in and of itself is not a horrible colour, like I don't mind it, but the problem is, because it wasn't planned, because it wasn't in any way organised, some of them have got a lot, like that big brown streak there, and some of them have got barely anything, just like little pale bits like that there, and it's not evenly distributed, so it's going to be like a blob on that one, or a couple of blobs on that one, or hardly any on this one. So when it knits up, I guess I'll have to alternate skeins, because it would, otherwise you might end up with like a huge pooling of brown here and then nothing until you get under here, and then maybe lots of little speckly bits on one arm and nothing on the other arm. And so it's just one of those things, isn't it? It's a bit annoying, but it is what it is. It's happened. It was just an accident, and I will try and make the best of it. If I ever get to knit again, I will just, yeah, alternate skeins, I think, and hopefully that will help. I'll sort of have a look and maybe try and keep the speckled ear ones for one part. But on the whole, I'm quite pleased. It's nice. It's nice yarn. It's a proper woolly wool. Like, I much prefer a sort of toothy woolly wool than a really smooth, really soft. I mean, it's nice to wear those sorts of things, you know, it's nice to feel them, but I prefer, I always worry, well, one, they do pill, but I always worry that they're going to get damaged. You know, you have to be careful with them. They sort of stretch out a bit, whereas I feel like a proper robust, toothy, kind of rugged wool is, yeah, and I don't have a problem with scratchiness. I can wear lopey and stuff like that. So that's that. And then the other things that I did, which I did on Thursday, I think, is something that I've been procrastinating about for ages and ages and ages, like years. And I couldn't settle. I couldn't decide what I wanted to do. I was thinking about making a dress. I was thinking about making another Bilbo vest, which if you've seen the making plans, you'll know about. But I kind of couldn't really get into any of them. But sitting on the floor in front of the cupboard of doom, because there's no room for them in the cupboard of doom, there were 3 cushion inserts that my aunt gave to me, and she gave me 4, and I showed one a while back that I used some old like pieced blocks that had just been hanging around for ages. I didn't know what to do with, and I made a quick cushion cover and gave it to my son, and I vowed that I would do the same with the others, just to kind of move through stash, you know, keep up with this intention that I have of trying to use stuff up, trying to create more space in the room and in my brain. And I'm looking at the mess that's over there. Maybe I'll take a picture and put it in so you can see it's not going that well sorting the mess. But anyway, I have made these 2 cushion covers. So again, if you've been here a while, you might recognise this fabric. Last summer? A while ago, last year, I did my first bundle dyeing. I've done quite a few. And this time I had fabric and I sprinkled like flower petals on. So I think I've got marigolds that I grew last year, and Dyes coreopsis that I grew last year that I've been keeping in the freezer, and I kind of sprinkled those on. And then I sprinkled red onion skins, that's where the green comes from, and woad seeds. That lovely tiny bit of blue is from a homegrown woad plant. And the colours aren't showing up quite as prettily on the camera as they are in real life. I'm trying to get a bit of, nope. They're not quite as murky as they're looking. So there's that one. There was, I'd done one skein. Oh yeah, so I sprinkled it all on, put the yarn on, damp yarn, and then I sprinkled more on top, and then I wrapped it all up in a tight little bundle, and I steamed it for a good hour or so, and then I just left it to cool. And I did 2 bundles, and one, I think accidentally really, one just had more stuff in it than the other, so that's like the paler one. And then the second skein was a bit darker. I think this, the pink speckles, were some of that madder powder that my husband bought me. He bought me 2 bags, 2, must be 100-gram bags, I think. And it sprinkled some on here, and that's where these pink speckly bits come from. And actually, the fabric is this fabric on the back. I didn't have enough to do the fronts on the back, so I could have done 1 cushion that was made from fully dyed fabric, or 2 that had a white back. And although I don't love the white back, you can't see it really when it's on bed. So, oh, sorry, the sun's come out, which is really lovely, but it's making things difficult to look at. It's just, I don't know if you can see, it's just got little embroidered daisies on it. This was the same aunt that gave me the cushion inserts, gave me an old duvet cover like 2.5 years ago now. She gave me those, and she gave me the duvet cover thinking that I would like to dye with it. It had a bit of damage on it, I think. Oh, it was thin in places, I can't remember, but she just said, oh, I think you might like this for dyeing, and there's some cushion covers too. So yeah, it's just been hanging around for ages, and I thought, do you know what, just do it. And it took me half an hour per cushion. I was just like, why have I not done this before? But now they sit quite happily on my bed, and yeah, it's been lovely. I'm really pleased to, I've still got tiny bits of each fabric left. Like, I think I might have enough to make a little notions pouch or something. Like, I don't really use the needle case, if I'm honest. Maybe I should, but I don't know. I think like a little notions pouch is what I will make with that, or maybe some lavender bags would be nice, something like that, because I've not got very much left. And then I do have a 3rd cushion. I was saying, the yarn that I dyed with madder, once I'd pulled the yarn out the first time, I put some fabric that I'd also tanned and then mordanted, and then I put that in, and that came out a really nice sort of pale pink, not dissimilar to this colour. Oh, I don't know what to do about the light. That's a bit better. That sort of pinky colour. And I'm quite pleased with it. But I decided, oh look, I'm being daft, this colour, this is the exact colour it was, because that's the fabric. I did quite like it, but I decided, oh, well, hang on, I'm going to totally backtrack. I'd said in one of my making videos that I was going to do some moons, some resist dyeing for moons. So this is what I've done. I've done quite a lot of them. So it's indigo. And all I did is my husband cut me out some circles out of like ply, and I folded up. You can see the fabric was folded into 4, and then I put a piece of wood on the top, a piece of wood on the bottom, the circular wood, and I just clamped them, 2 clamps, one on either side, and clamped them, and then they dipped, and these were dipped 3 times. And the dye couldn't get to where the wood had clamped them, and so you get these lovely soft edged moons. So I think I'm going to make a quilt top out of those. I really, really like them. I've done something like that a while ago, but I didn't do it with indigo, and I really, really like them. They look really pretty, in my opinion. It's quite standard. Lots of people, you know, lots of dyers have done a similar thing. But then I wanted to have a go with the pink fabric, so the madder dyed fabric from the exhaust of the yarn, because next, like April's moon is called the pink moon. I think in some places it's called a worm moon. There's different names for it. It's like March was a crow moon. Am I right? Or was that a worm? It was a crow moon. Oh, I think it was a crow moon or the worm moon, and I think April is either the pink moon or the egg moon, which kind of makes sense, doesn't it? But I like the idea of this pink moon. That's what it is in my journal, which is like a moon phase journal. And so I thought, well, given that I've got the pink fabric, could I just clamp it and leave a pink moon in the middle with the blue? And obviously the blue would be affected. And the first time I did it, I thought, no, I can't, because it's come out a bit blurry at the edges. I think it's, the colour's really not showing up because of the, do you know what, bear with me, I'm going to go and just pull that curtain across, which seems like a crime on a sunny day, but, oh. Will that be better? Let's hope so. Yes, I think so. So you can see they're there, but they're not as clear. You've got quite a sharp defined edge on the indigo, and then this is a much more sort of murky edge, and also because you can see the pink underneath, it's a bit mottled. Although the indigo ones had 3 dips, these only had 1. So that will have made a difference. These were like an experiment, really. But even so, I didn't want to waste them. I wanted to use them. You know, it's a lot of work goes into preparing fabric and then dyeing it up, and there's no way I was just going to chuck it out. So I thought, well, this is what I want a quilt top to look like. So I thought I'd try it out and see how it worked. And I think it's worked really nicely. I like the fact that you've got a slightly different tonal shift between the backgrounds. And even though they're not very distinct, I do think the idea is valid. It's worked really well. So I went back and I clamped them tighter. I think I got my husband to help me tighten them up. Actually, tightening it up hurt my wrists a bit, so I did got him to help me a bit. And the next ones have turned out much more defined. You still get a bit of mottling. That's a nice one because you've got this funny blob of blue. So I've got quite a few of them. And I think they're really pretty. These are on, this is on like an old cotton sheet, it's quite thin. This is on a very, I think it might be linen, like either a really stubby linen or really, really heavy cotton. They were old French, like hotel sheets. I got them at an antique fair that I went to with my aunt that we go to. Well, she's been going for years, but I've been with her the last few years. It's like a little yearly thing that we do now. And I got them from there, and so they're really stiff, these. I think they'll make a really nice, like they would make a nice quilt, but even like something that you know, a quilt that you might put on your wall, like more, I'm not gonna say as a piece of art, but you know, as a, yeah, that sort of thing. And so I've got quite a lot of them, but you know, altogether it wouldn't make up a very big quilt. But I do have more madder dyed fabric, and I don't think it's the same sheet, but it's very similar sort of, well, they're two different ones actually, but they're very similar, heavy slubby weave. But this one and this one, these are actually dyed with my homegrown madder last year. I will have done these with or not last summer, the summer before I dug up the madder. It's the summer 2023. I can't remember what I'm up to. So this is much darker. So if you look, where's the back of the cushion? You can see the difference. That's one, and then that's like a mid one. So I thought it might be nice to try and do it the same sort of resistance dye technique with these. So you get different tones of pink moons, but also I might, as I say, these only had one dip in the madder, in the indigo, so if I might need to do more to sort of cover up the much stronger pink colour, so you'd end up with a darker background. So it's all still a bit of an experiment, but that's what I'm interested in doing at the minute. That's what I'm quite happy with. So I've kind of got like the blue moons, I've got, well, say blue moons, the white moons on a blue background. You can see I've got some more back there. I've got the pink moons, and then this, which I have shown before and I'd shown on the making plans, but I finished it off. I needed to make a couple more blocks, and then I have done that and sewn them together, and I've started quilting it. This is, I'm thinking of these as mosaic moons. I'd shown a picture on my Instagram of the benches at Parkwell that Gaudi designed in Barcelona. The architect Gaudi had designed these huge, like, serpentine benches that were all mosaicked. I'll see if I can stick a picture up. And they had moon shapes within the mosaics. It was all like crazy colours and patterns, and then these very distinct moons within them, or circles. I don't know if he thought of them as moons, but they look like moons to me, and that's what I thought when we went round. I took loads of pictures and I loved them, and I came back again, that was 2022, came back and said, oh, I'm going to make a mosaic moon quilt, and I had all these ideas and everything, and I started it, and then I don't know, the impetus, I was trying to use up like a story of my life, trying to use up stuff that I've got in the cupboard and in the drawers. And that included lots of fabrics, these pattern fabrics that I've had in the past, and that, you know, I've used in quilts for the kids when they were much younger. Nowadays, or some of them I was given, nowadays I don't really buy patterned fabric much, except for dressmaking. For quilt making, I tend to just use my own dyed fabrics. And there are some in here, there's some madder dyed fabric and some indigo dyed fabric. But there's also a lot of patterned fabrics in pinks and blues. I had a lot in those two colours, so that's what I used, and I think it is quite effective. So I'm going to finish that up at some point, although I went to craft night on Thursday of last week, and I wound some thread first. I dyed some thread with indigo, and it was in a skein. It's very fine cotton sewn thread, like fine enough you could put it through your machine. So I was winding that, but I probably spent about an hour sort of quilting this slowly whilst chatting, and it really hurt my wrist afterwards. So I don't know if it was really sort of achy. So I don't know if quilting's going to go by the wayside as well until I can hopefully get this fixed. But I think plans will be bearing all that in mind. Lots of dyeing, because I can do that. That seems to be okay. I can seem to be able to cope with that. No problems. A lot of squeezing. You have to sort of squeeze the yarn out to kind of get some of the water out. That's a little bit achy, but I think if I just did it bit by bit, I'd be okay. Lots of dyeing, and then I think lots of machine sewing. That's not so much of a problem. I really miss having something in my hands, like of an evening when you sat down or in front of the telly, or like something to take out with you or take away with you. Obviously it's not so easy to do that with a machine or anything, but I think that's what I'm going to focus on. Sorry, I seem to have like slipped down. Is that better? The only other making plan I've got is something that I can't really talk about. It is a Tauco make and share for next month, so it's a bit secret at the moment. So, but I wonder, look. This is the fabric that's being made in. It's not dyed by me, it's not madder dyed, but it is that same sort of pinky colour. So yeah, I've got a very definite, I mean, even look at the curtains behind me, I have a very definite love of a certain type of pink. So yeah, that's all what's happening at the moment. The only other thing I'm going to talk about before I go are some books. So if you're not interested in books, that's fine. Thank you for watching. If you have made it through the last 46 minutes, I really appreciate it. But I did talk about books last time, and quite a few people sort of chatted and said, oh, that was interesting, or that was a good, you know, recommendation, or so I thought I would do it again. Somebody else had said, you know, that it's another YouTuber, she wasn't saying it to me, to make that clear, she was saying on her channel that she really loves it when people talk about like all aspects of their life, food that they like eating, books that they like reading, music that they like listening to, because it helps build up, like it really helps build up that person, like that, like a whole image of that person, and you get to like feel like you get to know them better. So, and I like people talking about the books that they're reading. So I'm doing it, that's what I'm saying. I think last time I was reading If We Were Villains by, I think, M.L. Rio. That was really good. I would definitely recommend that. It wasn't like the most surprising ending. Like, I think you could probably figure out who done it, but it was really, really good. And I've passed it on to my mum, and she's really, really enjoying it too. And we both think that my daughter will probably enjoy it. I think it's okay for her to read. She's a very grown-up 15, and like grown-up as insensible, not grown-up. She's still quite sort of naive. She's not very worldly wise, but I think there's nothing in it that would be inappropriate, I don't think. So yeah, I would recommend that. Then I'd said to you I was going to read a book called The Crow Moon, and I can't remember who wrote it. I've got a little book where I write down all the books that I've read, but I haven't got it with me, and I've got up and down so many times that I'm not going to do it again. But I wanted to read that in March once this moon cycle, which is the Crow Moon, started. Like I quite like the synchronicity of that. So I had time to squeeze in another book, and that was called The Bog Wife. And that was Kay Chronister, I think. Kay Chronister, somebody Chronister. And I have to say, it was a little bit disappointing because it'd been sold as being really spooky, really like gothic, really kind of creepy, and it wasn't. It was good. Like it was a good enough story, The Bog Wife, but it was not. It did not have the sort of chill factor that it didn't live up to its like the sales patter. It was a bit like okay. And then The Crow Moon, again, it was meant to be really creepy. It was meant to be really gothic. It was set in Scotland. It was meant to be, and it was like a whodunit, a crime type thing. If you come across that book, honestly, I feel awful saying this because obviously somebody's put a huge amount of effort into it, but just don't bother. It was rubbish. It really was. It was very obvious who did it. I mean, I think they thought it was quite a clever twist, but it wasn't. If you've read like a few, it was, I'd say, from about a third of the way through the book. And it was just really kind of heavy going. It was very ploddy. The lead character was, like the main protagonist, the woman, was very annoying, and she kept doing things that I don't think people would do in real life. You know, she's super worried about the safety of her son, her teenage son, for example. One of his friends has been killed and another one's gone missing. She's super worried that he's next in line. And then he just leaves a note saying, "Oh, I've gone to my dad's for the weekend. I'll be back on Wednesday." And she just reads it and says, "All right." And not until, and that's on like a Saturday morning, and not till Wednesday tea time does she think, "Oh, I'll just phone him and check he's all right." She has no contact with him the whole time. And of course, when she phones his dad, is like, "No, he's not been here." And it was just like, well, I don't think you'd do that. You would bloody phone. So just from that point of view, it was very unbelievable, but also it was really sloppy. Like, the editing of it, the timelines didn't match up, so they kept talking about this happening then and then this happening then, but none of it matched up. And I kept going back and reading it thinking I must have got this wrong, but I hadn't. I double checked it all. It just didn't add up. You were like missing years. You know, children that had been born, just had been born and then they died a year later, but somehow they were 3, and you're thinking, what? Like, it just didn't make sense. It was rubbish. Don't read it. Sorry. I can't even remember her name, so I'm sorry to the person that wrote that, but don't waste your time. Anyway, moving on. And then read this. Although, to be honest, I haven't got all the way through it. I've read, there's kind of like lots of general information at the beginning about food and nutrition and problems with food production. And it's really, really interesting. It's about eating and your immune system, and it's all about your microbiome, your gut health. This is very niche if you're not interested in this sort of thing. But then it goes on to talk about in like all individual types of foods and how they're good for you. And I kind of sort of, I read the first bit like monogamously, and then once I'm into the food bit, I'm reading a bit of that, and then I'm reading a bit of a novel because it's a bit heavy going at that point. But I would recommend it if you're interested in like healthy eating, or not like diets or anything, but just, you know, eating sensibly, eating healthy, eating in a way that will like nourish you. And there is a cookbook that goes with it, which I have bought. I borrowed this from my aunt when I went to visit, and she had the cookbook, and there was loads of lovely stuff in it. So I bought the cookbook, but we've only had it a week and a half, and we must have cooked 6 things out of it already. And with one notable exception, everything has gone down really, really well. So yeah, that's quite interesting. And then I read this book. I just finished this last night. Once Upon a River by Diane Settlefield. She wrote, this is her 3rd novel, I think. The very famous one, which has been around quite a long time. I mean, I read it well over 10 years ago, is a book called The 13th Tale, which is a really, really, really great book. It like weaves in lots of like traditional fairy tales, but it's quite a dark book. Like, it's not, you know, it's quite unsettling, but it's really good. Very sad. And this was really good too. I really enjoyed it. So I would definitely recommend that, Once Upon a River. It's about it's all sort of like the main hub of the story is this pub on the Thames. It's historical, it's not contemporary. And a man walks in, sort of all bashed up, all beaten up, carrying a dead child on the winter solstice. She's been drowned, he's been injured, you don't quite know what happens, he collapses, and then miraculously, it would seem, the girl comes back to life. But she doesn't speak, she can't say who she is or where she's from, and it's all about what happened next, and it's very good. It's very sweet. So yeah, that's what I think next. I don't know. My daughter went out on Saturday and she bought the new Hunger Games book, and she'd read it by the time she went to bed on Saturday night. And I'd said, "Oh, can I read it next?" But then she was like, "Oh, my best friend, her best friend was like really wanted to read it, so I sort of said, oh well, you know, pass it to her first and then just pass it me back. So that probably won't get that back till the weekend. So I think before Christmas my mum had given me a load of books which included the Crescent Moon series by Sarah J Maas, and I read the first two. I haven't read the last one yet because it's hardback and it's very big and it's kind of intimidating, but I think I'll read that and then clear the space off my shelf, and it'll be really easygoing, really not require too much brain power, but I should imagine very enjoyable because they're quite compelling, those books. So I will read that, and yeah, that's where I'm up to. Reading, dying lots of moons, dreaming of knitting. Oh, I think by the next time I see you, I will have been to the Woolly Good Gathering in Edinburgh. That's in 2 weekends' time, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going by myself, and I'd put out a little note on Instagram saying if anybody else is going, like, do you fancy meeting up? And I'm like meeting up with several people now. I'm like people that I've met before, and then very excitedly Mimi from Yarn Chicks, or Lead Web on Yarn Chicks podcast here on YouTube and on Instagram, and also Lead Web on Instagram. I met her through the Magical 3 Make Along that she runs every year, taking part in that, but like we've chatted backwards and forwards and sent the odd bit of post backwards and forwards for years and years and years, and she's coming, so I'm finally going to get to meet her. I'm so excited. It would be really lovely to see her. If you don't know her, have a look at her podcast, Yarn Chicks podcast. She does lots of lovely knitting, and she's does lots of sort of community driven stuff, you know, trying to get people here. She does like knit alongs and make alongs and like mend alongs, all sorts of stuff. She does like a advent swap, like mini skein swap every year. She does lots of stuff that is trying to like build community and be interactive rather than her just sitting there and talking at you. She's really great, so I would recommend her Yarn Chicks podcast. So yeah, but I don't know. I don't even know if I'll buy any yarn because I don't know where I am with the knitting. I was saying in my making podcast that I was looking for some bright red yarn to knit a cardigan. So if I saw the perfect thing, I would buy it, living in hope. But I think I'll probably otherwise just try and be quite restrained, because what's the point at the minute? Also next weekend, so that's 2 weekends away. Next weekend, my daughter and I have got a day at Sunnybank Mill, and we're doing an embroidery on clothes workshop together. I've booked it really because she really enjoys embroidery. She's good at it, and she's got a number of things that she wants to kind of tart up and make her own, like secondhand denim jacket and a few other bits. And obviously I'm like hoping to add the odd thing to everything I sew this year to make it a bit more personal, so maybe I could learn to do more than just a running stitch. I am meant to be doing, Jane at Snack Dragon Life has got a 6-month course called Stitched at the minute, and the first part of that was like learning some basic embroidery techniques and then using them in different ways. And I keep meaning to do it, and I just haven't. I don't know why, because that would be a good thing to do of an evening. You know, I was saying I wanted to keep my hands busy of an evening. I just haven't quite worked up the motivation to do it, but maybe next weekend we'll kickstart that. So yeah, next time, between anything I do get at Woolly Good Gathering, the embroidery and clothes workshop, and getting my potting stuff back, I should have some good stuff to show you. And I hope that you will come back and join me for that. So just a reminder, I will put this video up on YouTube as normal, but I'll also put it on my new Patreon account, which is Laura from Under Eagle Mountain, and it's free to access, so you could go over there, and there'll be the odd extra thing on there. So there'll be all the videos that I post on YouTube, and I won't just repeat what I put on Instagram, but there'll be, you know, photos and bits of writing, and maybe the odd extra video. So there is a video, I said, like a garden tour from the equinox, so there'll be the odd extra thing over there as well. So if you fancy it, go and have a look. If you liked this video, please like it, that would be really kind. It helps sort of boost visibility, Same if you have not subscribed and you think that you would like to come back and watch another video next time, then please do consider subscribing. All of that, which makes it a bit funny saying, but you know, it is quite important, I think, if just so people, there's a bit of visibility. Yeah. All right then, I'm going to stop. I am like 10 seconds off this being a whole hour, so the weather's beautiful. I'm off out to do some gardening now, and I'll edit this tonight. Other than that, I hope you have a super duper week and that the sun is shining on you. Take care. Bye.